Today's topic of discussion is neurotransmitter systems of the brain, reticular activating system and thalamus. Means in these lectures we will be highlighting three different topics. The first is related to the neurotransmitter, the second is reticular activating system, and third is the structural organization of thalamus. So all of us know about the importance of neurotransmitter. है ना? So before knowing about the importance of neurotransmitter, we have to be very much familiar with how this system is working, right? And what are the different components that are involved with this neurotransmitter system. So here you can see the human brain functions as a complex network of neurons. Yes, if you look into the functional organizations of human brain, there are numbers of neuronal networks, and that neuronal networks communicate with each other to perform in better way, right? So in these communication networks, there are numbers of messengers that are acting. These are called chemical messenger, and those chemical messengers are nothing, these are neurotransmitters. So simple meaning is neurotransmitters are some chemical messengers, and that chemical messengers are important to communicate neuron to neuron, which is very vital for proper functions of human brain, right? So here this chemical system or neurotransmitter system regulates different types of functions. So what are the most important functions that is carried out by this neurotransmitter system? You can see it regulates the cognitions, mood, behavior, motor functions and autonomic processes. It means there are multiple physiological events, and all those physiological events are regulated by neurotransmitter system. So here each neurotransmitter systems involves specific neurons, specific type of receptors, enzymes and the specific pathways. It means whatever the functions that is carried out by these systems, all those functions doesn't involve the same neurons. It means for every different type of functions, there is specific type of neurotransmitter involved, there is a specific receptor involved, specific pathway involved. So these are some important concepts about the neurotransmitter system. Now if you look into the classification systems of the neurotransmitter, these classification systems are broadly classified into two groups. So these two groups are, one is called small molecule neurotransmitter and another one is called neuropeptides. So it means whatever the numbers of neurotransmitter molecules or chemical messenger involved with the regulations of brain behavior, they falls under two broad categories. One is neuropeptides and another one is small molecule neurotransmitters. So if you look into the different types of neurotransmitter that falls under small molecule neurotransmitters are acetylcholine, some amino acids like glutamate, gamma aminobutyric acid, glycine, and some monoamines like dopamines, norepinephrine, which is also known as noradrenaline, epinephrine or adrenaline, serotonin and histamines. So these all are important types of neurotransmitter. They work through specific receptors, they work through specific pathway, right? Similarly, there are numbers of neurotransmitter which falls under neuropeptides are substance P, endorphins, enkephalins, dynorphins, oxytocins and vasopressins. So we'll see how these different types of neurotransmitters are functioning, how they involve with the regulations of behavior, mood or other various types of physiological function, right? See here, if you look into the acetylcholine or acetylcholine systems, these acetylcholine systems is also known as cholinergic system, right? So what is the features of that acetylcholine system or cholinergic system? You can see acetylcholine is the primary neurotransmitters of the cholinergic system, which is essential for memory, attention and arousal. It means These neurotransmitters played an important role to regulate the functions of memory, to regulate the attention behavior as well as arousal, right? Now, question is, what is the exact locations of that acetylcholine systems or cholinergic systems? Yes, the most important site of the human brain, here you can see the cholinergic system or acetylcholine systems is forebrain, mainly the basal forebrain and brainstem, right? In both the forebrain and brainstems, there are numbers of nuclei present, and those nuclei act as a site for cholinergic neurotransmitter system, right? For example, you can see for basal forebrain, nucleus basalis and medial septal nucleus both act as the site for cholinergic system or acetylcholine neurotransmitter system. So here you can see these cholinergic systems or acetylcholine systems mainly involved with the regulations of cognitive behavior or cognitive process, which includes, it regulates the learning process, it helps in the memory process. It also involved with the modulations of sleep-wake cycle. It means it is directly involved with the regulation of circadian rhythm. Now, other than this cholinergic system or acetylcholine systems equally important to control or regulate the motor control via spinal cord and via the functioning with the neuromuscular junction. The simple meaning is the cholinergic systems, which is basically made up of a special type of neurotransmitter, or through this system a special type of neurotransmitters are acting, that is the acetylcholine. By acting through these systems, these acetylcholines helps regulates different type of physiological events like cognitive behavior, like regulation of sleep-wake cycles, as well as it involves with the regulations of motor control. Now, see the most important receptors, as I mentioned, for all the various types of receptors, neurotransmitter, receptors are not same. Receptors are specific, right? For acetylcholine system or cholinergic systems, the most important types of receptors are nicotinic acetylcholine receptors and muscarinic acetylcholine receptors, right? If you look into these two different types of receptors, their functional characteristics or physiological functions are a little bit different. So what difference you can see here in this nicotinic receptor systems or muscarinic systems? You can see this nicotinic acetylcholine receptors is also known as ionotropic receptors. So here, what is the physiological mechanisms or mechanism of actions of these acetylcholine through these receptors? See, that is a ligand-gated ion channel receptors. It means once this neurotransmitter bind with these nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, there is an opening of a specific ion channel that allows the ionic movement, and these ionic movements is vital for the generation of action potential by changing the potential across the nerve cell membrane. So here simple meaning is this acetylcholine nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, here the binding of this acetylcholine to this receptor causes the opening of the channel. Whereas muscarinic receptors, which is also known as metabotropic receptors. So what is the meaning of that? Here you can see it is a G protein coupled receptors. It means whenever this acetylcholine molecule bind with this muscarinic receptors, it will follow a specific pathway. This is called second messenger pathway. So for the actions through this second messenger pathway, the most important protein involved is G protein, right? So this is what is the basic difference between nicotinic acetylcholine receptors and muscarinic receptors. Now, what is the clinical relevance of cholinergic receptors or acetylcholine receptors? You can see, you have heard about the term Alzheimer's disease. You have heard about the term myasthenia gravis, right? So, what is the features of both the terms? See, here degeneration of basal forebrain cholinergic neurons. So, we have already seen that the locations of these cholinergic neurons is basal forebrain. So if there is a degeneration of those neurons present into this basal forebrain regions, so it leads to the development of a specific neuronal disorders called Alzheimer's disease. Similarly, you can see the myasthenia gravis, which is basically antibodies against nicotinic receptor. It means once this acetylcholine receptors binds to the specific acetylcholine molecules binds to the specific receptors, they send signals. But here in this particular case, you can see this disease of myasthenia gravis basically develops against these receptors. Means the molecules which bind to these receptors, these are very much similar to the neurotransmitters. Though they are similar, but they are unable to carry the nerve signal, right? So this is the common problem that we can see in the myasthenia gravis. Here in this particular case, there is a difficulties in the transmissions of neuronal signals from neuron to neuron. Now another important system is called, you can see, the dopamine system. So what is the basic features of this dopamine system? See here, dopamine is central to reward, motivations, motor control and cognitions. Again, there are numbers of physiological functions that is regulated by these neurotransmitter systems called dopamine system, right? So dysfunctions leads to psychiatric and movement disorders. So these are the most common problem that we can see when there is a dysfunctions into this dopamine system. So here you can see in this diagram what is the most important site and what is the most important pathways that involve with this dopamine system. See here these are the pathway called Niagara striatal pathway and mesolimbic or limbic pathway, then mesocortical pathway and tuber infundibular pathway. These are different neuronal pathway, and those neuronal pathway involves with the regulations of these type of activities, right? What type of activities? Like positive feeling, motivations, motor controls and cognitions. You can see here this first one. See here in this diagram, here it is mentions the locations and pathways for dopamine system. Here the signal that travels from a specific site or specific nuclei of the brain to another parts which is essential for the regulations or control of a certain physiological activities. Here in this case, it sends nerve signals from substantia nigra, right, from SN to the striatum. This is the striatum regions. So by sending nerve signal from this specific site to this area, it helps to regulate the motor behavior of the person, right? Similarly, another important, you can see the ventral tegmental area. This is the ventral tegmental area, and that ventral tegmental area actually carries the nerve signal from this particular site, and signal travels to the neurons to other area, right? Mainly it sends nerve signal to the cerebral cortex region as well as this forebrain region. You can see here this ventral tegmental area sends signals to the limbic systems. So here limbic systems, mainly specific side of the limbic systems or specific nuclei of the limbic systems, that is nucleus accumbens. And here this pathway, this dopamine pathway mainly involves with the reward or positive feelings and reinforcement behavior. You can see this ventral tegmental area or the nerve signals that is also travels from this ventral tegmental area to the cerebral cortex regions. So here in the cerebral cortex there are numbers of area, and all those areas are involved with the regulations of different types of activities. Here you can see it involves with the executions of different physiological events as well as it involves with the executions or regulations of mood, right? So these are some important functional aspect how the different dopaminergic pathway helps regulations of different physiological event. So like previous ones, The most important type of receptor involved here in this dopamine systems are D1-like systems and D2-like systems. So here, when these dopamine neurotransmitters act through these specific receptors, it shows its excitatory functions, right? Excitatory functions. Whereas when dopamine acts through these D2 receptors, it shows its inhibitory functions. So it means in the regulations of different physiological behavior, sometimes you can see we can involve a particular functions which is very essential, right? At the same time, sometimes we can involve in a particular activities which is required to prevent, right? So these are two different conditions. So in these two different conditions, how these dopamine receptors, dopamine and dopamine receptors are behaving. See here, when dopamine acts to the D1, it shows its excitatory functions. When it acts to the D2, it shows its inhibitory functions. So here, if you look certain disorders that involves with these dopamine systems, we have heard about the term Parkinson disease, right? A very common disease that is generally occurs in old age, right? Parkinson disease. So what is the main physiological basis of this disease is degeneration of neuron. So what neuron? Degeneration of nigrostriatal neurons, right? Or NT. So if there is a degeneration of this NT or nigrostriatal neuron, so from this particular site, it is very difficult to sense the signals to the other parts of the brain, right? See here, schizophrenia. Here you can see in this particular case, there is a hyperactivity of mesolimbic pathway or limbic pathway. Other than this, sometimes you also can see due to the disturbed signaling pathway, we can see the addiction behavior. So it means all these three are different abnormal state, and those abnormal states are basically developed due to the abnormal behavior of this neurotransmitter system. Now another important system is called norepinephrine or noradrenaline systems. See here, in this case, it is also known as adrenergic system, right? So what is the features of these adrenergic systems? The most important transmitter involved is either norepinephrine, which is also known as noradrenaline, right? What is the functions that is regulated by this system is, it regulates the attention behavior, arousal, stress response. So all these are physiological events, and those physiological events are regulated by these adrenergic systems, where the neurotransmitter involved is norepinephrine and noradrenaline. So the most important features of this noradrenaline system is, see here, widespread cortical and subcortical projections. It means once this transmitter binds with this specific nuclei, her receptors are present, right? They sense the nerve signal across the cortex, right? This is the most important features of this system. You can see a group of neurons sends nerve fibers to many areas of the brain, not just one. This is the most important features of this noradrenaline systems. You can see here, whenever the nerve signal travels towards the cerebral cortex, and in the cerebral cortex there are numbers of areas involved, and those areas are involved with the regulations of various activities. Like here you can see, when signals reach to the cerebral cortex or different areas of cerebral cortex, it regulates the thinking behavior, it regulates the memory, and it regulates the sensations. Here thinking behavior, memory and sensations, they are not regulated by the single area of cerebral cortex. Instead, they are regulated by specific area that is spread across the cerebral cortex. Other than this, you can see this norepinephrine systems also send signals to to the structures which is present below the cortex. It means it not only sends the signals to the different areas of the cortex, at the same time it also sends signals to the subcortical regions, which is the structure that are present below the cortex, like thalamus, basal ganglia, limbic system and brain stem, right? So what is the general physiological functions you can see from here? So general physiological functions is alertness and vigilance, right? So this is very important physiological behavior as well as mood regulations, stress response and sympathetic activations. So from that particular lines we can say that yes, like dopaminergic systems, like cholinergic systems, these adrenergic systems equally important in physiological point of view. So the main features of this system is here, from specific nuclei the nerve signal reach to the different areas present into the cerebral cortex as well as the areas which is present below the cortex level. Now these are the most important types of receptors. So here through these receptors, this norepinephrine or noradrenaline are basically acting. So these are called alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2 adrenergic receptors, and all those receptors are G protein coupled receptors. So it means as the receptors of G protein coupled receptors, so whenever this adrenaline, noradrenaline or norepinephrine binds to the specific receptors, they will only act through the second messenger systems, right? Because they are G protein coupled receptor. So what is the clinical relevance? You can see the developments of conditions called depressions when there is a reduced noradrenergic activity. At the same time, we also can see some other important disorders called ADHD, which is also known as attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. Why it is happening? It is basically happens due to dysregulations of cortical norepinephrine pathway, right? So cortical norepinephrine pathway means the pathway where it involves the transmission of neuronal signals from specific nuclei to the cortex. Now another important system is called serotonin system. So here also you can see it regulates the mood, sleep, appetite and pain perception, right? Some important characteristics of this system is, see here, the nuclear presence for this serotonin or receptor presence for this serotonin neurotransmitter is the Raphe nuclei, which is present in the brain stem, right? So the feature is certain neurons sends their axons to many different parts of the brain as well as the spinal cord, right? That allowing them to influence multiple functions simultaneously, right? So this is one important characteristic features which is different from the previous one. Like here, it sends the signals to the spinal cords too, right? You can see here the most important sites where it sends the signals is cortex regions, and due to that this cortex regions helps to regulate the thinking behavior, attentions as well as perceptions. So you can see the involvement of limbic systems here in this case, which involves the regulations of emotions, memory and motivations. You can see the involvement of sensory and spinal cords, and that is basically involves with the regulations of both the sensory and motor functions. So these are the four most common. Along with this, you can see the most common receptors for this serotonin systems is 5-HT1 and 5-P7s. These are the most common receptors through which the serotonin neurotransmitters are acting. Another important neurotransmitter, you have heard about the term the GABA, right? Or gamma aminobutyric acid. So this GABA aminobutyric acid is the transmitter which is called as inhibitory neurotransmitter, right? And this neurotransmitter actually maintains neuronal excitability, or it helps to balance the excitability of the neuronal cell, right? By sending the inhibitory signal, right? So which one is the excitatory neurotransmitters? If the GABA is the inhibitory, which one is the excitatory? Acetylcholine. So here we can see widespread, it can spread across the CNS, particularly cortex regions, hippocampus and basal ganglia. So in this class, it is very basic demonstrations. You must be familiar with the terms only, right? Like cortex, hippocampus, basal ganglia, these are general terms. So you will be learning in details about all those in upcoming lectures, right? You can see for the GABA, what is the receptors? For the GABA, basically two different types of receptors are functioning. One is the GABA A and another one is the GABA B, right? This GABA A and GABA B, though they are specific for this GABA, but their functional behavior are not same. See here in case of GABA A, it is an ionotropic chloride channel, right? See how this GABA A is responding when this GABA molecule binds with the GABA A. See, when GABA binds with the GABA A receptors, it opens chloride channels. Opening of this allows the chlorides to enter into the neurons with some negative charges. This makes the inside of the cell more negative. So nerve cell becomes hyperpolarized, so that neuron becomes less likely to fire an action potential, right? It means it inhibits the developments of the generation of action potential. Similarly, if you look into the functional behavior of GABA B, see here, when GABA binds with the GABA B, which is a metabotrophic receptors, you can see it acts through the G protein coupled receptors, which is a receptors for second messenger system. It acts, instead of opening up this some channels, it acts to the second messengers. This leads to the slower but longer lasting inhibitions of the neuron. These are the two important features how the GABA molecules or the GABA neurotransmitters is acting through different receptors, how it is important to maintain the neuronal action potential by sending inhibitory signal. Another important one is called glutamate systems. So what is the features of these glutamate systems? You can see it is an excitatory neurotransmitters, glutamate, right? So, and this glutamate neurotransmitter systems is essential for learning and memory. And these are the sites where these systems are located, right? Like cortex, hippocampus area and cerebellum. So here, these are the two main receptors through which this glutamate is acting. One is ionotropic and another one is metabotrophic, right? So these are different types of receptors through which the glutamate systems are acting. Now look here, other than this major types of neurotransmitter systems, you can see the importance of some other neurotransmitter systems too. So these are called histamine and neuropeptides, different type of neuropeptides, as you already mentioned about the substance P upwards and neuropeptides Y. So these are some important aspect of neurotransmitter systems, how the various neurotransmitter systems is acting through the different neuronal pathway, how the different type of neurotransmitters acting through different type of receptors and ultimately helps regulations of different physiological behavior, right? Now see, the second part of today's discussion is reticular activating system. किसका किसका नींद आ रहा है? किसका किसका नींद आ रहा है? बाहर थोड़ा घूम. What are the main components of this reticular activating system? See here, The reticular activating systems is a diffuse network of neurons in the reticular formations of the brainstem that is responsible for maintaining wakefulness, arousal, consciousness. Wakefulness हो नहीं रहे थे, है ना? Consciousness, focus नहीं है ना? Focus नहीं है, arousal, ठीक है? So all these activities are regulated by this reticular activating system, right? It means maybe there is some abnormal functional behavior in this system in this particular moment, right? So here you can see about the locations of this RAS. It's mainly located in the upper brainstem reticular formations. You can see here, this is the reticular activating systems or reticular formations. So you can see these are the area, or you can see about the exact locations. Upper brainstem, mainly the midbrain, pons and upper medulla, and it extends rostrally. Rostrally means towards the head or upward directions from the specific origin, right? So if the origin of this RAS is this, so the or brainstem or pons, so if it moves towards the upward directions, it's called rostrally. So it means if this reticular activating systems or RAS systems also located in the thalamus, hypothalamus, basal forebrain and cerebral cortex region. It means these systems spread across the brain. As it is spreads to the cortex, cerebral cortex, it means it spreads across the brain. Now what are the main components of this reticular activating system? You can see the major components of these reticular activating systems is brainstem reticular formations. You can see from this diagram, this area, see reticular formations, right? At the same time, thalamic intralaminar nuclei. You can see thalamic nuclei, right? Thalamic nuclei, as well as hypothalamus, basal forebrain. This is the basal forebrain region, right? And it diffuses towards the cortical side, or it projected toward the cortical area. It means it is the area called cortical area how this reticular activating systems is located, right? Now, what are the different transmitter molecules that are acting through the reticular activating systems? These are the major transmitter molecule that are involved or they carries the chemical message from reticular formations to the other parts of the human brain. It may be the cortex, it may be the hypothalamus, it may be the thalamic area, right? So these are the transmitter which are involved in this reticular activating systems or RAS systems called acetylcholine, noradrenaline, serotonin, dopamine, histamine. It means all the various types of transmitters are acting through this RAS system. Now here, if you look into the pathways about the RAS, what is the main pathway that we can see in the RAS? So we can see the ascending pathway as well as the descending pathway. We will be learning about the different types of ascending pathway in details in upcoming lecture, right? Ascending and descending pathway. So here in this class, you must know how this reticular activating system is important. We have already seen about the locations. We have already seen about what are the transmitter that carries the impulse from these systems to other parts of the brain. Now see what is the exact pathway. See, ascending fibers from brainstem reticular formations to the thalamus and cerebral cortex to maintain the arousals and consciousness. So it means these two functions or for the regulations of these two important behavior. The most important pathway involved is the ascending pathway. So here some ascending nerve fibers that is originating from the brainstem reticular formations that travels towards the thalamus as well as the cerebral cortex. By sending that neuronal impulse, it helps to regulate this physiological behavior. This is the one called ascending one. At the same time, you also can see the involvement of this RAS system in the descending pathway too. So, descending pathway obviously involved with the spinal cord, right? By the involvement of the spinal cord, it helps to regulate different type of motor control. See here, descending nerve fiber to spinal cord that regulates the motor and autonomic activity. So, like we will be learning about the pain pathway or neural pathway of pain. We will be learning about the neural pathway of memory, right? So, for two different pathways, the mechanism are not same. Sometimes we will be learning about how this ascending pathway regulates the pain mechanisms. We will see how the descending pathway helps regulations in pain pathway, how this descending pathway helps regulations in the memory mechanisms. So, its simple meaning is there are numbers of ascending and descending pathway that is important to regulate various types of physiological functions here, like arousal, consciousness, and other various types of motor behavior. Now you can see the major functions. It maintains the consciousness and alertness. It controls the sleep-wake cycle. It regulates the arousals and vigilance. These are the major functions or physiological functions that is regulated by this by this RAS system. Now, what are the common clinical relevance of this system? You can see, you have heard about the term coma. So, if there is any lesions in any specific nuclei of the RAS system, if there is any lesion in a specific nuclei of the RAS systems, so we can see the development of some abnormal state. Like here you can see, lesion of RAS leads to the coma, unconsciousness, and vegetative states. So what is vegetative states? So vegetative states, sometimes you can see the person is having wakefulness, but he is not responding, right? So this is called vegetative states. Sometimes you can see due to the negative impact of certain drugs or certain medicines, you can see the abnormal behavior of this RAS systems. You can see like CNS depressant that inhibits the RAS, and ultimately it affects the sleep-wake cycle, or it promotes the unconscious behaviors. See, sometimes stimulants also, it activates the RAS mechanism or RAS nuclei that leads to the wakefulness. So here you can see this in sleep physiology, RAS is active during wakefulness, and due to the reduced activity of these RAS systems, there is a onset of sleep. So this is where the importance of RAS. Now the third part of today's discussion is thalamus. See here, the structural part, this is very important in physiological point of view. So what is thalamus and what is the most important functions that is regulated by this thalamic area? See, the thalamus is a large egg-shaped mass of the gray matters that is located in the diencephalon, that act as a major relay and integration center for almost all sensory informations to the cerebral cortex. A very important line. See here, it acts as a relay center, right? It acts as an integration center, right? So, for that, we could say in nerve physiology or in nervous physiology, the thalamus is very, very important, right? Because it not only gathers all the informations, it also helps relay all those informations to other parts of the brain, as well as it helps relay all other informations to the motor area of the body. So you can see about the locations. This is the diencephalon area, and here if you look into the detailed anatomical structural organizations of this thalamus, It is generally located into the third ventricles of the human brain, and it forms the lateral wall of the third ventricle, and it is located just above the hypothalamus, right? So it is very difficult to understand from the diagram, but whenever you will be learning about the practical aspect of this, you will be understand how what is the exact locations of this, and whether really it is located above the hypothalamic regions or not, whether it is present in the third ventricle regions or not. So for the better understandings, it needs to the practical overview of the structures. We will be learning from the learning this from anatomy. So here you can see as I mentioned that this is present in the ventricle, third ventricle. If you look the anatomical organizations, two thalami connected by the interthalamic adhesions. It means as the brain has two different hemisphere, right, or two different segment vertically. So in each segments or each hemispheres of the brain, you can see the ventricle regions and thalamic area. So that is what is mentioned here. Two thalami connected by the interthalamic adhesions. So this is the interthalamic adhesions, and in both the regions there are numbers of nuclei are involved, called thalamic nuclei. So what are the most common thalamic nuclei that you can see in both the thalamic region, right thalamic region and left thalamic regions, you can see, or across the thalamic region. So these are the common nuclei called anterior nucleus. You can see here, these are the nuclear group and ventral anterior nuclei. At the same time, you can see from this side medial nuclear group. So these are number of nuclei, right? Here nuclei means what? Nuclei means what? The nerve cell, right? Nuclei means what? The nerve cell. So it is divided into different nuclei group like anterior nucleus, medial nucleus, lateral nucleus, internuclear nucleus, then reticular nucleus. So these are specific nuclei or group of nuclei which are functionally important, to regulate different type of motor behavior as well as regulations of different sympathetic nervous activity too. See what are the major connections or neural connections that you can see with the thalamus. Thalamus is connected with the cerebral cortex. It receives all sensory inputs except smell, which has connections with the motor systems, limbic systems, brainstem reticular formations for arousals. So simple thing is that thalamus again connected with the different parts of the brain. As I mentioned, it is connected with the cerebral cortex. You will be learning about what are the different areas that are present across the cortex and how all those areas are functionally different, right? So for the regulation of different functional behavior, different areas present in the cerebral cortex, thalamus played an important role because this thalamus acts as a relay center, and this thalamus is connected with the cortex, right? So by relaying the signal to the other parts of the brain, it helps regulations of various physiological functions. So we have also seen not only connected to the cerebral cortex, it also connected with the motor systems too, like basal ganglia, cerebellum, limbic systems, as well as brain reticular formations. Just sometimes before we have seen about the importance of reticular formations. It is involved with the regulations of arousal, right? So how this is regulated? This is regulated by communicating actions of both the thalamic regions and the brainstem reticular formations, right? Because by the communications for all those different systems, they actually sense nerve signal, right, from one nuclei to the other part for the regulations of activity. So this was all about today's discussions. You can see, as I mentioned, how thalamus is important. See, all sensory modalities pass through the thalamus, right? Like the sense, I mean pain sensation, sensation of touch, कैसे पता चलते हैं, right? Then sensation of temperatures, vision, hearing. So all those physiological events are maintained by this thalamic area. Not only this thalamus acts as a sensory relay stations, it also involves the integrations of motor activities. Like it relays the cerebellar and basal ganglia that inputs the motor cortex, and also by connecting with the reticular activating systems, it helps regulations of arousals, or it helps with the regulations of alert behavior. Other than this, it also equally important for the regulations of emotional behavior. So these are some important functional aspects of how this thalamus is important for us. So in overall lectures, we have focused mainly three things. The first part, we have seen what are the different types of neurotransmitter system, what are the different type of neurotransmitter receptors, and how they are important. In second part, we have mentioned a very brief about the rest, and finally we have already seen the importance of this thalamus. This is very basic understandings about the nervous physiology. Whatever the important terms that I have mentioned since lectures, it will be useful in your upcoming lecture. Thank you.